So, for a long time, I never understood the duo of Batman and Superman. Now, I must admit, to an extent, I still don't understand it, but I do now realize why they really do make for the greatest, or if not one of the greatest superhero duos in existence. Now, why, you may be wondering? Because, frankly, they're a lot different. Light, dark, they seem to be complete and utter opposites. And it seems like one comes from, outer space, from a planet far away from Earth, landed here as a baby, and now looked at as a savior. Batman, on the other hand, was, in a totally different situation. Had both of his parents pass on in front of him, and then he would be orphaned and put in a situation where he had to work, scratch, and claw for every single thing that he gained. But don't get it twisted, Batman had his fair share of benefits, especially with the fact that he is rich and extremely wealthy, so this allowed him to basically gain the facilities that he possibly could need. And Superman and Batman, they may be different. One may be human, one may be alien, but they do have their similarities, right? I did say, yeah, they are a little bit different, both light and dark. Kind of one works in a more pacifist-like way, more kind of subtle and more heroic-like way, but Batman's more driven on the idea of fear, eliminating this threat of villainy entirely through fear. But Superman wants to eliminate it through that light, through the savior's lens, and that's what Superman tries to do. But this still makes them for such an amazing duo because of all of this. Because they're so different, their differences actually allow them to kind of align basically perfectly. Now, why would this align them? Well, for starters, Batman is known for not only his darker past, but also his distrust and his preparation for the worst case scenario. We have seen Batman literally make contingency plans for the Justice League, and that would include someone like Superman. But Superman does have a tendency of kind of looking a little too optimistic. Now, it's not always the best idea to kind of think things are going to be A-okay no matter what, but having too much optimism and too much kind of belief in inherent goodness could lead to a downfall pretty massively, and could lead to Superman being vulnerable in multiple occasions. And Batman, well, he's that perfect balance for Superman. Batman's not really an optimist, and in a way he kind of is, but that's more in terms of rehabilitation of his own villains. But he does have a massive amount of distrust. So he would be able to cover up that optimism for Superman, be able to make sure that we are always, and they are always, looking at things with an objective lens, and making sure they're always looking at things like, yes, we want to think about it in terms of, okay, this person could possibly be innocent, and they might have inherent goodness, and we are going to help them, blah, blah, blah. But Batman would help them also look at the worst case scenario. What happens if this person is the opposite of what they say they are? And we've seen this on multiple occasions when Kara Zor-El, or the cousin of Kal-El, aka Superman, or Clark, comes down to Earth. Now, Batman has his worries about Kara, thinking that maybe Kara is a sleeper agent of some sorts. And even though this most of the time doesn't come to fruition for her to be a sleeper agent, kind of trying to kill Superman, but it is still something to think about. Just because someone says they are family, someone says they are kind of your cousin, or someone says that they are part of your own species, or aka from your planet, it doesn't mean that they are inherently good like you. And we've seen this with General Zod. And that's something that Batman will help Superman with massively. But another thing that Superman can help Batman with is adding a little bit of optimism to some of these villains. And I've made a video before on kind of like the idea of what a true Batman is. And a true Batman is someone who really cares for his villains and honestly wants them to be better. And we get a lot of different Batmans who maybe lean toward the darker side, where he doesn't believe his villains will really get better. But Superman can help him with that specifically. Superman is that optimist and can really help can help Batman with making sure that his villains become better people and eventually join kind of the side of a productive society. But now let's kind of go away from their ideologies and their kind of way of approaching things, and let's talk about their strengths and skills. Because when we are talking about the greatest superhero duo, we're also talking about a fighting duo. So strength and skills is something very important. Now, what makes Superman Superman? Well, he's an alien powerhouse with godlike abilities. Super strength, flight, heat vision, frost breath, so on and so forth. He has a multitude of abilities, and let's be honest, his skill, or not skill, but his power is for the most part endless in a lot of instances. Batman, on the other hand, is a human. He is a normal human with high-level capabilities, but he is also a human detective, a tactician, a martial artist, and he heavily relies on his intelligence, his gadgets, and also his preparation. Now, Superman is known to go headfirst into a lot of things because he knows that he's invincible to a certain extent. But Batman, on the other hand, is perfect for Superman because he's going to be able to give him the preparation that Superman normally doesn't take. On top of that, he's going to be able to make plans. And making plans is something very, very important so that you don't get caught off guard and somehow die or somehow lose. Now, I hate to use this as an example, but I want to talk about Suicide Squad to Kill the Justice League because it's something that I've brought up in the past. And I brought up the idea that you should never allow Superman to make plans. And the reason why I say this is, and the reason why I point this out was because in Suicide Squad to Kill the Justice League, Superman is so optimistic, is so kind of in the idea of, oh, everybody is inherently good, that he basically puts everybody in jeopardy, puts the entire Justice League in Brainiac's ship, and yeah, it's all downhill from there because he was like, oh yeah, no, he's a good alien. Yeah, you know, he's gonna be a good person and blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't the case. And Batman, even in some of the dialogues, in some of the audios, literally was saying like, no, let's not do this. This is obviously a trap. And Superman's kind of saying the more optimistic side of things, saying stuff like, oh, well, we have to kind of be the example. We have to set the example and have that trust. But you can't just trust somebody just because they say they're good, and Batman knows that very specifically. And that's why Batman's preparation and also his tactics would be so perfect for Superman. And on top of that, I always say this, I'm not saying Superman's a bad fighter or anything like that in terms of straight hand-to-hand combat, but I do believe that Superman can learn a lot from Batman in terms of martial arts and combat skills, right? Being able to utilize your hands, your feet, your legs, your body entirely and utilize them perfectly is something that a superhuman like powerhouse or godlike being like Superman would be able to massively entertain and be able to massively utilize throughout any single fight you can possibly imagine. Now, I will say they do have a beautiful balance of morality. You have Superman's strong convictions and moral compass, but you also have Batman's willingness to kind of bend the rules in a way. Because yes, Batman doesn't kill, but Batman knows that there are certain lengths that you must go to make sure that justice is basically inquired and that justice is going to be served. And Batman knows that some of these villains, some of these people from Metropolis to Gotham, they're different. The Joker is going to be far different than anybody you find in Metropolis and any other villains you could possibly think of. Some of these villains don't care about themselves, don't care about their own well-being. What they care about is making a name for themselves. What they care about is actually hurting Batman no matter what. And this could lead to Batman putting himself in awkward and odd situations, but at the same time, having someone like Superman, who is the big boy blue or the big blue Boy Scout, right, is someone who wants to do everything the right way for the most part, and then having Batman with the willingness to bend the rules just enough to make sure that, you know, we can keep villains at bay. We want to keep villains from, you know, absolutely kind of taking over and absolutely kind of preying on your weaknesses. And that's something that we see with Superman quite a bit. Superman getting exposed or put in situations, because he's letting his guard down. And that's something that Batman, for the most part, doesn't normally do. Now, to go on with their whole greatest superhero duo kind of shtick, they do have a massive mutual respect, and this wasn't always the case. Batman and Superman didn't always have kind of this mutual respect. There was a lot of times where Batman and Superman didn't really get along with each other. Same thing with Clark and Bruce Wayne, and that's pretty obvious and pretty kind of relevant in a way, because at the end of the day, they both didn't start as the greatest, best of friends, but they are really good friends as they progress through things. And you can tell Batman does admire Superman's unyielding kind of goodness and power and trust. And you can tell that Batman wishes that it was that okay, that everything was okay enough for him to kind of sit there and be like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine, and I can trust everybody that's around me, and so on and so forth. Their friendship and their understanding of each other is something that really makes them an amazing duo and really makes them kind of a really good team up that would allow them to really take on anything that you could possibly imagine. They really do amplify each other's strengths to a large degree, because at the end of the day, Batman is a human being. He is someone that doesn't have a lantern ring, right? He doesn't have some crazy mechanized, I mean, I know some Batmans do, but for the most part, he's not going to use a crazy mechanized suit. He's using a very basic suit with gadgets. And I say basic, but it's like bulletproof and stuff like that. But basic in terms of like fighting godlike beings, which that's what Superman would allow him and allow kind of the duo to do. Take on beings that have like this speed and strength that Batman, frankly, wouldn't really be able to keep up with. And that would allow them both to kind of take in together as a unit. And on top of that, you have Batman's investigative skills, and you could identify threats before they can even become threats, which is something that is perfect. And like I said before, I mean, the idea that these two become such a great duo is kind of wild when you think about that Superman and Batman's outlook on humanity and their kind of duality with it is a lot different. Their duo symbolizes kind of like what humanity really is. Now, Superman, you know, he really looks forward for the aspirations, the belief that everything can be better, can be kinder, and more hopeful. But Batman embodies resilience, right? That you can endure this pain, use it to your advantage, use the fear to your advantage, and preserve even in the darkest times. And we get kind of like the coldest thing from Batman, which I love talking about Owlman and Batman because I think it's amazing. When Batman basically says he looked into the darkness of the void, but Owlman blinked, right? In kind of, I wouldn't say enjoyment, but some Batman probably do enjoy it. But this kind of resilience that he's in, and this resilience that he holds when he's within that darkness, when he's within that void, is something that Batman can really give to Superman. Or even if it's not necessarily giving it to him, it's kind of helping him understand the darkness, helping him understand that not everything is going to be perfect and not everything is going to be amazing. And that's the facts of it. The fact is that not every single thing is going to be sunshine and rainbows, but not every single thing is going to be darkness and void. And that's what makes Batman and Superman such an amazing duo, because they both can understand that now together. Batman can understand that there is times that is okay to be an optimist, that it is okay to see the bright side and the light side of things. And Superman can now understand that some people, well, there is darkness in people that is borderline uncurable. There is darkness and also possible danger everywhere you look. So having optimism is one thing, but being extremely, extremely coy or kind of negligent to possible threats is something that you should 1000% avoid. Even if you are borderline invincible and are borderline a god, you need to not let your guard down the way you could possibly let your guard down. But even with all that said, the greatest superhero duo, Batman and Superman, they have their flaws. They do. They both are going to have their flaws, and even as a duo, they don't cover up every last one of them. There are versions of Batman that go off the rails, but versions of Superman that go off the rails. And in a video pretty soon, I'll be talking about Injustice Superman. I love talking about the Injustice comics, video games, stuff like that, but that's a little off topic. But there always is flaws to a duo, but I truly believe that Batman and Superman make up for one of the greatest, if not the greatest, superhero duo to ever exist. But with that said, I would love to hear any duos you guys possibly love and enjoy. Duos that you guys absolutely love and think they are amazing in terms of contrasting each other, but also kind of covering up each other's weaknesses and stuff like that. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If it's Marvel, if it's DC, if it's anime, I don't even know. Something, anything. Let me know what you guys have to say about Batman and Superman making up one of the greatest duos. And if you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, that's fine as well. But also leave the greatest duo in your opinion in the comment section below. But that is all I got to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. All the support is appreciated, and I appreciate all the support on the channel. We are growing like crazy. We are almost at 20,000 subscribers. I can't even believe that we're that close to 20,000 subscribers. I appreciate all the love and support. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube believes you'll enjoy this one, so you might as well go check it out.